My roommate is bound to a bullying system. Every time someone commits suicide because of her, she gets a huge reward. Her next target is me. But what she doesn't know is that her so-called system is actually a soul-seducing demon. And I'm an exorcist. Hey everyone, look. The transfer student is wearing cloth shoes, and they're full of holes. I was standing numbly at the front of the class while the teacher introduced me, but a sharp female voice cut her off. The quiet classroom instantly erupted. A bunch of kids in the back stood up to get a better look at my feet, and one guy even climbed onto his stool. I froze and glanced down. Damn it! I'd worn my ritual shoes to school. The shoes were black, with 10 holes on each side. The holes represent the 10 cardinal directions: east, southeast, south, southwest, west, northwest, north, northeast, up and down. They symbolize a life of wandering and of guiding countless souls. Right. My name is Lucy, and I'm a Taoist priest. I'm posing as a transfer student at this school because in just one semester, 6 students have already jumped to their deaths. The victims were both boys and girls from rich and poor families, with good grades and bad. The police were stumped, the school was shrouded in gloom, and the parents were terrified. My friend on the force asked me to go undercover and investigate. Every single body had a smile of contentment on its face, he'd told me. Something feels really off. I think it might be demonic. So I took on the name Julie, squeezed my 21-year-old self into a school uniform, and became a transfer student in Class 2-7 at North Star High. Hey Julie, your shoes have a lot of holes. Coming to school in shoes that torn up, is your family in the junk business or something? Pass it on. The new girl, Julie, her family are trash collectors. Her dad probably found those shoes in a dumpster. The class exploded with laughter. I twitched, fighting the urge to start swinging. The girl who started it all was striking, a heart-shaped face, big eyes, and pale skin. Too bad her hairstyle was straight out of an old emo music video. Her ears were covered in piercings, and her uniform was worn crooked, giving her the perfect bad girl look. My assigned seat was right in front of her. I walked over, and just as my butt was about halfway down, my stool was yanked out from under me. Ha ha ha. Cough, cough, cough. The girl behind me slapped her desk and let out 2 loud laughs, but when I didn't fall as expected, her laughter choked off and turned into a violent coughing fit. Her friends rushed to hand her tissues and pat her back. Still holding a perfect horse stance, I casually grabbed my stool back from my new deskmate's hands. Nice to meet you. I'm Julie. What's your name? A girl next to her smacked me hard on the head. Who do you think you are? You don't get to talk to Chloe. A boy behind her sneered. A trash picker's daughter wants to be friends with our Chloe? Did your dad not leave you a puddle of piss to see your own reflection in? These little brats were seriously getting on my nerves. This was a private high school where money, not grades, got you in. As a result, the student body was a mixed bag, with delinquents making up more than half of the population. Skipping class, smoking, dating, fighting, most teachers just turned a blind eye, pretending not to see any of it. After I got hit, the teacher at the front just kept on with her lesson, her voice completely drowned out by the classroom noise. I doubted anyone past the first row could even hear her. Julie, I don't like that name, Chloe said coolly. Since you showed up on your first day in those raggedy shoes, we'll just call you Julie Ragshoes from now on. The second she finished, her friends started applauding and banging on their desks. Julie Ragshoes. Julie Ragshoes. Julie Ragshoes. I was about to lose it. The sheer nerve of these kids, giving someone such an awful nickname. Just as I was about to flip a table and go wild, my phone started vibrating like crazy with a flood of new messages. I forced myself to calm down and check my phone. The texts were from my cop friend, Officer Evans. They came in one after another. I could tell he was excited. I went through the case files all night and found a new lead. All the students who committed suicide had conflicts with a girl named Chloe. More accurately, they were all bullied by Chloe and her friends before they died. You're in the same class as her. Find a way to get close to her. Let her bully you. And remember, whatever you do, don't tip her off. I gritted my teeth, took a deep breath, and typed back a few words. I'm already being bullied by her, thanks. Smack. Another sharp blow landed on the back of my head. This time it was Chloe's deskmate, A boy named Dylan. Chloe's talking to you. Are you f-ing deaf? Patience is a virtue. A moment of patience can prevent a great disaster. Act without thinking, and you'll live to regret it. He who can bear all things will have no worries. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a great show. I could watch it all day. After a few deep breaths, I shot up and spun around. By the power of the celestial dragon. Before I could finish my incantation, a long-haired girl ran over and sat in the empty seat to Chloe's right. The girl was so thin she looked like a gust of wind could blow her away. She was tall, though, at least 5'7". It looked like she'd altered her plaid skirt. The originally knee-length hem now barely covered the tops of her thighs. Her pale legs were blindingly white, which made the dark handprints scattered across them stand out even more. When they saw her, Chloe and her crew immediately lost interest in me. Well, look who decided to come back. Tiffany, did you and Prince Charming go a full 10 rounds last night? Tiffany shot Chloe a flirty look, then her eyes slid over to me. Is this ugly thing the new transfer student? She looks like she just crawled out of a barn. I lowered my outstretched arms and sat down. From what Chloe said, it sounded like Tiffany didn't come back to the dorm last night and was out with her new boyfriend instead. I couldn't help but study Tiffany. Her eyes were sunken and dark, and her forehead had a reddish-black tint. Her neck, just like her thighs, was covered in black handprints. This new boyfriend of hers probably wasn't human. Tiffany had gotten herself tangled up with a spectral lover. Seeing me stare dumbly at Tiffany, Chloe frowned. Julie Ragshoes, what the hell were you screaming about just now? Everyone be quiet. Suddenly, the teacher at the front of the room shouted, stunning the entire class into silence. This is my last class. Thank you all for making me give up on the teaching profession forever. You've taught me that not all teenagers are worth saving or helping. I hope the children you have one day are just as stupid and degenerate as you are. Finally, I have a gift for you. Enjoy. With that, the seemingly quiet and gentle teacher pulled a large bag from under her desk. She ripped it open and hurled its contents toward the ceiling. Then, without a backward glance, she sprinted out of the room, making sure to slam the classroom door shut behind her. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of black hornets swarmed down from the ceiling. The thing she'd thrown was a massive hornet's nest. Tiffany let out a terrified shriek. As she screamed, her perfectly white, even teeth fell out like a string of pearls, clattering onto her desk. By now, the hornets were descending on us like a black cloud, and nobody had time to worry about Tiffany's teeth. In the chaos, Dylan kicked over her desk, and the pearly white teeth scattered across the floor, quickly trampled beyond recognition. These hornets were huge, with slender bodies and stingers that gleamed black. I scrambled to the back of the classroom in a few quick leaps, slipped out the rear door, and quietly shut it behind me. The classroom instantly filled with blood-curdling screams. The noise was so loud, yet no one from the offices in the building across the way came to check. It seemed the teachers here were used to it. Deaf and dumb, truly worthy of North Star High. The teacher was long gone. I glanced at my watch, waited until I figured enough time had passed, then quietly pushed the door open and slipped back inside as if nothing had happened. The room was filled with sobbing. The windows were wide open, and most of the hornets had flown out after stinging everyone, with only a few stragglers still buzzing around. Faces that were once young and vibrant were now swollen and unrecognizable. Some had both eyes puffed shut. Others had lips like sausages. The girl next to me got it the worst. Her entire face had swollen into a pig's head. I almost jumped out of my skin when I first saw her, thinking a pig demon had suddenly appeared in the classroom. The students helped each other to the school's infirmary. Tiffany's face was fine, but her ears had swollen to the size of an elephant's. She wailed through her toothless mouth while crouching on the floor, trying to pick up her teeth. I sighed and knelt to help her. But after I'd found only two, Tiffany lunged at me and slapped me across the face. I dodged, but her nails still scratched my cheek. Get away from me. Who do you think you are, you hillbilly? You think you can laugh at me? Her words were muffled without her teeth, and I had to guess what she was saying. As they say, birds of a feather flock together. Chloe's best friend was just as awful as she was. I immediately withdrew my sympathy and dropped the two teeth I was holding. Tiffany was entangled with a phantom lover, and her daily intimacy with the ghost had already drained her life force. On the outside, she still looked like a fresh-faced high school student, but her body was already decaying from within. That's why her teeth fell out when she screamed. In her current state, she had a month to live, at most. I sniffed the air. The heavy scent of an old person mixed with the stench of death clung to Tiffany, something even her strong perfume couldn't hide. Her life force was depleted. Not even the gods could save her now. Not unless someone was willing to trade their own lifespan for hers. And given her personality, that seemed unlikely. I ignored Tiffany and stood up, surveying the room. I had to admit, I really admired what that teacher did. Looking around, besides me, everyone in the class had been stung badly. Naturally, classes were canceled for the day. Everyone went to the hospital. I wandered around the school for a bit, and it wasn't until dinner time that the dorm supervisor finally took me to my room. The moment she pushed the door open, a chill ran down my spine. "This is your bed. That one's Ashley's. The ones by the window belong to Tiffany and Chloe. And this is your locker. Well, just put your things wherever you can." The supervisor opened the locker with my name on it. The lock had been smashed long ago, and the inside was crammed full of trash bags, jumbo packs of tissues, and even an open package of sanitary pads. The dorm supervisor frowned but said nothing. After briefly explaining the rules, she turned to leave. I stopped her. "Ma'am, who stayed in this bed before me?" At my question, she spun around, her face filled with fear. "That's not something you should be asking. Just get some rest. I have other things to do." She fled the room as if escaping a monster. I shrugged. Even if she didn't tell me, I already knew. The girl who lived here before was the last one to jump, Amy. Amy was the only anomaly at this school. She came from a poor family, living with her brother and their grandfather, who was a scrap collector. When she was 10, her parents died in a house fire. Amy was a brilliant student, poached from another high school with a generous scholarship by North Star High to boost their college admission rates. But for a poor, honest girl like Amy, coming to this school was like a sheep walking into a den of wolves. She had hoped to ease her family's burden, but instead, she lost her life. With everyone gone, I took out my things and set up a simple altar on the bed. After Amy died, I had tried to summon her spirit at the morgue, but it failed. She had lived in this dorm for over a year, suffering endless bullying and torment. Summoning her spirit here might yield some unexpected results. I waited until 11 p.m., then climbed onto the bed where Amy used to sleep, took out an incense burner, and prepared to light the soul-guiding incense. Click. I took out my lighter, but the incense just wouldn't light. The flame flickered, but the stick acted as if it were made of water. I stubbornly switched to a burning talisman, but while the tip of the incense glowed for a second, it immediately went out. How could this be? The last time, at the morgue, the incense lit just fine. Amy had only been gone a few days, and tonight was the 7th night after her death, the night of the spirit's return. It was also 11 p.m., the hour of Z, when the gates of the underworld open. Even if Amy's soul was in the netherworld, the incense smoke should have been able to call her back. A situation like this could only mean one thing. Her soul had been devoured by another, more powerful ghost. Could Chloe be keeping a demon of her own? But I couldn't see any trace of a ghostly presence on her. She just seemed like an ordinary high school student. Since I couldn't sleep anyway, I got up and started rummaging through the room, searching for clues. Chloe's and her friends' lockers were all secured with big, shiny padlocks. I grinned. By the sacred arts, I command thee, open. The golden locks fell to the floor, and the locker doors swung open. Inside Chloe's, I found a pink diary. I won the lottery. This system is actually real. Another one dead, hee. One life is 100 points. I have 500 points now. I'm getting closer to my goal. Go Chloe go. 600 points. Just 100 more and I can become a star. Who should I choose as my next target? I was confused. What did this mean? Chloe won the lottery? I called Officer Evans and asked him to check the lottery winner records for the date Chloe had written. It wasn't long before he called back. Lucy, the day after the first bullying victim died, Chloe really did win the lottery. $5 million. I was even more baffled. I'd read novels about system-based powers, but could they actually be real? Had Chloe bound herself to a murder system where she got points for killing people? A life for 100 points? Get 700 points and you can summon a dragon? No, wait. According to Chloe, with 700 points, she could break into the entertainment industry and become a celebrity. This was just ghostly. No, scratch that, ghosts are real. But a system. For the first time in my life, I started to doubt my understanding of the world. I can handle ghosts, but a system? I had no idea what to do with that. It looked like Evans was right. The only thing to do now was to make myself Chloe's next target. I had to see what role this system played in the bullying and deaths, and find out if those students really committed suicide. I sent all my theories and the photos of the diary to my friend, Sophie. She replied with a string of exclamation points, followed by 2 words. On my way. The next morning, it was almost 8:30, while after morning self-study had ended, and the classroom was still only half full. Even if they got stung by hornets yesterday, showing up later than office workers was a bit much. I suddenly wished that teacher had consulted me before throwing the nest. I could have gotten her a much bigger one. It wasn't until after 9 o'clock, right before the second period, that the class finally filled up. It was only then that I realized the pig demon I saw yesterday was actually Chloe. Seeing me purse my lips, trying to stifle a laugh, Chloe flew into a rage. Julie Ragshoes. What are you laughing at? Laugh again and I'll rip your mouth open. To secure my spot as the next victim, I could only shrink my shoulders, put on a terrified expression, and look as small and helpless as possible. I wasn't laughing. Chloe was about to curse me out again when a familiar song blasted from the classroom door. So loud it drowned out all the noise in the room. The familiar beat made my heart pound and my blood race. Soon the classic Cantonese lyrics kicked in. I rule the world. I roam as I please, worshipped by all. I rule the world. I never need to look back. I turn the world upside down. I write my own laws. This fierce, gleaming-eyed wolf, accompanied by the iconic gangster movie anthem, a tall, slender woman strode in with an intimidating aura. Her shoulder-length hair was slicked back, revealing a bright, commanding face with smoky makeup, sharp angled eyebrows, and a nose ring. Because of the heat, she was only wearing a black tank top and cargo pants, revealing arms and a collarbone so covered in tattoos that you could barely see her skin. The entire class was stunned into a silence it had never known before. Hello everyone. I'm your new homeroom and literature teacher, Ms. Crow. You can also just call me Crow. With that, she turned and wrote the word Crow on the blackboard with forceful, flowing strokes, as powerful and unrestrained as she was. My mouth twitched. I knew Sophie might have a special entrance planned, but I never imagined it would be this extra. Yes, the woman on the podium, Ms. Crow, was my friend and partner, Sophie. The silent classroom suddenly erupted. Dylan, sitting behind me, slammed his fist on the desk in excitement. Holy shit. This teacher is so cool. So badass. Chloe and her gang of delinquents stared at Sophie with shining eyes, as if they were looking at their idol. But that wasn't all. Sophie then hauled 2 large boxes onto the teacher's desk. First time we're meeting, so I got gifts for everyone. Starting from the left, come up and get one. I don't like disorder. You can talk, but you have to line up properly. In an instant, all the students formed neat lines, an orderly scene that left me dumbfounded. The first in line was a petite female student. After she received her gift from the box, her breathing grew rapid. The girl's gift was a full set of designer makeup, and the boys each got a carton of cigarettes that cost a few $100s a pack. There were over 50 students in the class. Sophie's welcome gifts cost her well over $100,000. The students were ecstatic. Teacher, from now on you're my sister. If you point east, I'll never go west. Sophie frowned. What's with the teacher? From now on you all call me Crow. Hang on, I need to take a call. Sophie casually picked up her phone. Her ringer was so loud that even from the back row, I could hear the anxious voice on the other end. Crow, they're back to challenge us again. Sophie frowned. How many people did they bring? Only 100 or so. Not even enough for a warm-up. What are you so nervous about? All right, I'm in class. I'll head over when it's done. Tell the boys to hold on. I'll definitely settle this score. And just like that, in a matter of minutes, Sophie had completely won over the entire class. You Julie, come with me to my office. That son of a bitch Sophie even had a private office. I sat on a leather sofa that was obviously expensive, and gave her a complicated look. What the hell are you doing? Sophie grinned, lacing her fingers together and smoothing back her slicked hair. Ever heard of good cop, bad cop? You'll be their enemy, I'll be their friend. You operate in the open, I'll work from the shadows. That's how we'll get things done. I had to admit, she had a point. We exchanged intel and battle plans, and then I headed back to the classroom. Before I could even get through the door, Chloe and her gang of four cornered me. They shoved me all the way up to the rooftop. On the way, Tiffany secretly pinched me several times, with a force that, if you didn't know better, you might think she was trying to cop a feel. I was speechless. Hadn't Tiffany noticed something was wrong with her body? She was probably out of breath after walking just a few steps, and she definitely couldn't do any strenuous exercise. After all, her body was essentially that of a frail old woman. Spit it out. What did Crow want with you? After Chloe's question, the others all stared at me with envy and jealousy. An idea sparked in my mind. Ms. Crow said I'm a low-income student, and offered me a part-time job at her family's martial arts studio on weekends to earn some spending money. Dylan's eyes turned red with envy. A martial arts studio? What martial arts studio? I blinked innocently. You didn't know? Ms. Crow's family owns a chain of martial arts studios, boxing gyms, jiu-jitsu dojos, all that stuff. What the hell are you showing off for? Chloe couldn't take it anymore and lunged forward to pull my hair. I grabbed her wrist, crying out. "Oh, that hurts." Compared to my fake crying, Chloe's pig-like squeal was far more convincing. I heard a distinct crack. I had just snapped Chloe's wrist. Pretending not to notice, I covered my head with my hands, squatted down and wailed. "Wah, don't hit me. I'm so scared. Please just leave me alone." For some reason, my thoughts drifted to the last girl who was bullied to death, Amy. She was honest and timid. When Chloe and her friends ganged up on her like this, she must have been truly terrified and hopeless. I'm going to kill you. You bitch. Strip her clothes off now. Chloe shrieked, clutching her wrist. At her command, Tiffany immediately raised her phone, a flicker of excitement in her eyes. Dylan stepped forward, grabbed my hands, and shot a look at Ashley, who was standing nearby. These guys worked well together. It was clear this wasn't their first time doing something like this. Ashley took a step forward, and had just grabbed my collar when Dylan suddenly felt a cool breeze between his legs. His pants dropped to his ankles. I screamed and squeezed my eyes shut. Pervert. He was only wearing one layer of pants. My eyes are burning. This was the worst injury I had ever sustained since beginning my training. Dylan frantically covered himself and, without even pulling up his pants, turned to run. He didn't get 2 steps before tripping over his own trousers and face-planting. Just as I opened my eyes, I was greeted by the sight of a pale, round butt. "Dylan, put your pants on already." Chloe and the others were still young girls after all. They abandoned me, covered their faces, and ran, leaving Dylan and me alone and mortified on the rooftop. Dylan, his face beet red, pulled up his pants, gave me a look of utter despair, and then charged toward the railing. "Whoa, are you crazy? Don't stop me. Let me die. I can't live with this shame." My bully trying to kill himself out of shame? If I told Officer Evans and Sophie, they'd laugh their asses off. After a struggle, Dylan sat on the ground, his eyes red. I sat next to him and scoffed. A grown man wants to die just because someone saw him with his pants down? What about all the girls whose clothes you ripped off and posted online? Dylan hung his head and said nothing. After a long moment, he mumbled like a mosquito. "Men and women are different. A man's dignity is everything." I slapped my own hand. Damn it, why did you have to save him? I shouldn't have stopped him. It would have been better if he'd just died, one less menace in the world. I couldn't stand being around Dylan for another second. I shot him a glare and quickly headed downstairs. For the rest of the school day, Chloe and her friends threw frogs and fake snakes into my desk and poured glue and red dye on my chair. I endured it all day, grinding my back teeth to dust. Officer Evans sent me 800 texts, all with the same general message. Think of the innocent students who lost their lives. Persistence is victory. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Thinking about that mysterious system, I forced myself to calm down. I finally made it to the end of evening study hall. The moment the bell rang, Chloe and her crew surrounded me. I silently followed them toward the dorms. As we passed the school's notorious little grove of trees, a tall, handsome boy standing under a tree waved at Tiffany. "Tiffany, your Prince Charming is here." Chloe and the others immediately started winking and nudging each other. Tiffany let out a coy little noise and happily ran toward the boy. So this was Tiffany's spectral lover? I stared intently, examining the boy. The more I looked, the more familiar he seemed. "What are you looking at? Why are you so cheap? Always staring at other people's boyfriends." Chloe cursed and raised her hand to slap me, but she cried out in pain as she lifted her left arm. Oh right. She probably didn't know I'd fractured her wrist. I secretly glanced at her swollen hand and pretended to shrink away in fear. On the way back to the dorm, Ashley and Chloe kept gushing about Tiffany's boyfriend, saying how handsome, rich, gentle, and romantic he was. I had to admire them. It seemed this wasn't their first time meeting him. Yet they hadn't noticed that the guy had no shadow? A moment ago, as he and Tiffany walked off together under the streetlights, only Tiffany's shadow stretched out long and thin behind her. I had thought Tiffany had another month, but that was assuming her life force wasn't being drained anymore. If she spent another night with that ghost, she'd probably be a dried-up corpse by morning. Back in the dorm, the more I thought about it, the more something felt off. Where had I seen that handsome ghost before? Chloe was hunched over her desk, writing something and occasionally shooting me sinister glances. If I wasn't mistaken, I was her next target. Even though she'd been bullying me, she had somehow ended up on the losing end of our encounters, and knowing her petty nature, she wouldn't be able to stand it. From the looks of it, Chloe wasn't going to let me leave the dorm tonight. That meant I had to leave Tiffany's situation to Sophie. After Chloe and Ashley finished washing up, Chloe pulled out a small knife and a bottle of blue ink, while Ashley produced a rope and a flashlight. "Since you love staring at other people's boyfriends so much, how about we tattoo a few words on your chest? Slut. Bitch. Pig. Whore. I'm not an unreasonable person. Pick one of the four." Our dorm was on the 8th floor. One of the bars on the window guard was broken, leaving a gap big enough for a skinny person to squeeze through. I watched in terror as Chloe and Ashley advanced on me. "Don't come any closer. If you do, I'll jump out the window." With that, I sprinted to the window, climbed onto the sill, and leaned halfway out. Hearing me threaten to jump, Chloe's eyes lit up. She looked at me excitedly, her voice high and sharp. "Jump. I dare you to jump. Who are you trying to scare, you bitch? After I left today, weren't you and Dylan on the rooftop for a long time? Why do you have to seduce everyone? Aren't you ashamed?" My face was pale, and I was so scared I could barely speak. "I'm sorry. I didn't know Dylan was your boyfriend." Chloe stomped her foot and shrieked. "Bullshit. He's just a dog that follows me around. But even my dogs aren't for you to seduce." She raised the ink bottle and grinned menacingly. "If you won't choose, I'll choose for you. Slut on the left, bitch on the right. How about that? Good choices, right?" I let go with one hand, my body swaying precariously. "Don't come any closer. I'll jump. I really will." Just then, a terrifying aura emanated from Chloe. The hair on my arms stood on end, and my legs went weak, nearly causing me to fall for real. My vision blurred, and a series of images flashed before my eyes. In college, I had a rich, handsome boyfriend who loved me very much. Soon after we got together, he took me on a trip during summer break. At the hotel, he saw the tattoos on my chest. He flew into a rage, slapped me twice, and left me there alone. When he got back to school, he told everyone about my tattoos, claiming I must have been a prostitute to have something like that. Unable to bear the judgment and ridicule, I dropped out. The scene shifted. I was married. My ordinary, simple husband despised my tattoos and would beat me whenever he got drunk. He often beat me so badly I couldn't get out of bed, not even to use the bathroom. Later, he racked up huge gambling debts and sold me to a crime syndicate in the Golden Triangle. I was either beaten or forced into sex work every day. I soon contracted a disease and died. Even with my eyes closed, I could still feel the sorrow, anger, despair, and helplessness. It was as if I had lived through it all myself. I could still feel the phantom pain of the fists on my skin. So this was Chloe's terrifying system? This wasn't a system at all. It was a high-level demon, a fiend. Legend says that when a ghost mother is born, the immense demonic energy she releases can cause nearby ghosts to evolve into specters and wraiths. Specters bewitch the mind, while wraiths amplify resentment. Specters and wraiths devour each other. And when a powerful specter consumes 100 others, it evolves into a fiend. A fiend is colorless and formless, living inside a human host. It loves to feed on young souls, freshly departed ghosts. That's why Chloe was always at the scene whenever someone committed suicide. And a fiend needs 3 days to digest each soul. That's why I was still able to light the soul-guiding incense at the morgue when I tried to summon Amy. The last time the ghost mother escaped from the temple, thousands of specters and wraiths escaped with her. My master ordered me to capture them, but they're incredibly cunning and hard to find. I hadn't even met my quota for this month. This was a godsend. My breath quickened at the thought. A fiend was worth 100 specters. This was a huge performance bonus delivered right to my door. Plus, once a fiend chooses a host, it enters a symbiotic relationship and can only be expelled by the power of the 5 elements. That meant even if it realized I was onto it, it couldn't escape. I had to admit, this fiend chose its location well. Chloe was already malicious by nature, and her young age made her susceptible to believing all sorts of nonsense. The fiend posed as a system, tempting her to bully and torment innocent students. Teenagers are fragile. It's easy for someone like Chloe to break them. Add in the fiend's manufactured illusions, and they start to see death as a release. Once I understood everything, I breathed a sigh of relief. By now, Chloe was standing in front of me, utility knife in hand. What's wrong? Weren't you going to jump, you loser? Go on, jump. I leaped down from the window and kicked her to the ground. Jump your ass. You bitch. How dare you fight back? Chloe stared at me in shock, her face twisting in rage. I grabbed the ink bottle from the desk, pinched her jaw, and shoved it into her mouth. Your mouth is filthy. Let me wash it out for you. With one broken wrist, Chloe was powerless. I quickly forced half the bottle of ink down her throat. Seeing this, Ashley didn't rush to help Chloe. Instead, she shrieked and ran into the bathroom, locking the door behind her. I ignored her and continued pouring ink into Chloe's mouth. After finishing the bottle, Chloe lay on the floor like a dead dog, dry heaving. I picked up the rope Ashley had dropped and tied Chloe securely to the bedpost. Chloe's face was flushed, her eyes bulging. Julie Ragshoes, you're dead. I'll have people deal with you tomorrow. You don't even know who my uncle is, do you? They call him Leo the Leopard. He runs a bunch of nightclubs. Tomorrow I'll have him, MMPH. I pulled off one of Chloe's socks and stuffed it in her mouth. The world was finally quiet. Wah. A sob came from the bathroom. Ashley was crying in fear. I rolled my eyes in disgust. These girls who acted so tough and lawless fell apart the second they faced any real trouble. After easily breaking open the door, I tied Ashley to Chloe. Naturally, I gave her Chloe's other sock. There. You two behave yourselves. I opened the dorm room door, slipped out of the building, and headed for the grove of trees, a wave of fear washing over me. Once a fiend has devoured 7 souls, it can break free from its host and roam at will. Catching it then would be next to impossible. The campus was quiet. After lights out, there wasn't a single person on the paths, not even a security guard. I hurried toward the grove, wondering how Sophie was doing. I rule the world. I roam as I please, worshipped by all. I rule the world. I never need to look back. To the sound of that familiar song, I saw Sophie sitting on the ground, humming and drinking a beer. As I got closer, I realized she wasn't sitting on a chair. She was sitting on Tiffany. Tiffany was lying on her back. Her skin was no longer tender and youthful but old and slack. She looked like she'd aged 20 years overnight. What about the ghost? When Sophie saw me, she took a swig of beer, let out a satisfied sigh, and shot me a defiant look. Couldn't beat him. He got away. I looked at her suspiciously. She was in an awfully good mood for someone who'd just lost a fight, humming and drinking beer. That ghost looked really familiar to me. Did you recognize him? Sophie nodded. Of course. We've both seen his picture. He's Amy's brother, Aaron. Amy had grown up with her brother and grandfather. Her brother had gone to the city to work last year and never came back. It turned out he'd had an accident. His spirit, unable to rest, wanted to return to see his family one last time. But when he got back, he found his sister was already dead. Aaron couldn't accept the blow, and his ghost lingered on campus, refusing to leave. It wasn't long before he discovered that Tiffany was responsible for his sister's death. Tiffany had a crush on the most popular guy in the class next door, but that boy had given a love letter to Amy. Tiffany, used to getting her way, couldn't stand it and instigated Chloe to bully her. To get revenge, Aaron deliberately got close to Tiffany and began draining her life force and essence. If that was the case, I sighed and patted Sophie's shoulder. Well, if you're outmatched, you're outmatched. Nothing we can do about it. It wasn't that we didn't want to vanquish demons, but this one was just too powerful. Looking at Tiffany, she had a week left at most. But by draining her life force, Aaron had broken the laws of the underworld and would probably never be reincarnated. All right, stop drinking. Let's go. We need to figure out how to deal with that fiend. Under the pretense of discussing a plan, we slipped off campus for some late-night barbecue. By the time I got back to the dorm, Chloe and Ashley were fighting like cats and dogs. Ashley was pulling Chloe's hair, and Chloe was biting Ashley's arm. They were tangled together like a pretzel. Looks like I didn't tie them tight enough. After some effort, I retied them, restuffed their mouths with socks, and flopped onto my bed. I started to think about how to deal with the fiend inside Chloe. According to Sophie, we could just lock Chloe up for life. With the fiend trapped in her body, it would perish when Chloe died. But Chloe was still young. Locking her up for life was unrealistic and had too many variables. It would be safer to use the power of the 5 elements to drive the fiend out. I slept like a log until morning, then untied Chloe and Ashley and kicked them awake. They looked at me with terror, afraid I would suddenly fly into a rage and beat them. I glared at the two of them, huddled like quails, and felt my anger rising. My order's rules forbid harming ordinary people who can't fight back. As hateful as these two were, they were young and not practitioners of dark arts, so I didn't have a good reason to hit them. If I hit them, I'd be breaking the rules. If I didn't, I couldn't swallow my anger. I frowned, looking at Chloe's slumped, delinquent posture, and suddenly had a brilliant idea. Come on, let me give you a full-body tune-up. Authentic Chinese acupressure massage, guaranteed to be effective. Miserable screams echoed through the dorm room. After a session of cracking and popping, Chloe and Ashley collapsed to the floor, drenched in what was either sweat or tears. Of course, I hadn't given them a real massage. I just pressed all the most painful pressure points I could find. After venting my frustration, I walked into the classroom feeling refreshed, only to find the atmosphere was off. Julie, you're late. Stand by your desk. No seating. Sophie was still wearing a tank top, showing off her tattooed arms, and holding a rattan cane. It looked like Teacher Crow was getting serious today. Out of 56 students, 49 were late. Sophie timed us, and for every minute we were late, we got 1 lash on the palm and had to hold a horse stance for 1 minute. Julie, you're 10 minutes late. Come on, hands out. I stared at Sophie. She stared back defiantly. Are you trying to defy your teacher and disrespect your elders? This is for education. Ever heard of making an example of someone? Sophie was determined to whip these lazy, unmotivated students into shape. I sighed and held out my hands, secretly channeling my internal energy to my palms. After a full day of class, I felt like I'd forgotten something. It wasn't until evening study was almost over that I slapped my thigh. Crap, I forgot about Tiffany. When I ran to the grove, I found Tiffany lying on the ground, silently crying. Her exposed skin was covered in so many mosquito bites that someone with trypophobia would faint on the spot. Seeing me, Tiffany got excited and tried to sit up. HRK. I feigned shock. Oh my God, there's a person here. Tiffany had had a stroke. Her body's actual age was probably around 80. Lying in the grove in thin clothes all night, exposed to the cool wind, had been too much for her. I carefully checked her pulse. She originally had only a week left, but after the stroke, she somehow had several more years. It seemed Aaron had come back and returned the life force he had taken. Even though she'd spend the rest of her years in a hospital bed, a bad life is better than a good death. I offered some fake words of comfort and headed back to the school. As for Aaron, he had seen the error of his ways. We should be lenient with good ghosts. I'd just pretend I never saw him. When I got back to school, the discipline in our class had completely transformed. We stood out like a crane among chickens in the otherwise chaotic school. Soon, the beloved Crow had become Crow the Demon King, feared and resented by all, though no one dared to speak up. Sophie's punishments were real and merciless, and even the school administration turned a blind eye. In just a few days, the pack of wild wolves had turned into lambs, too scared to even squeak. Everyone had to be in the classroom by 6:30 a.m. for an hour of reading and an hour of physical training. The class had a quiz every 3 days, and for every point lost, you had to do a push-up or a frog jump. Everyone was on edge, and no one had time for bullying or cliques anymore. They were too busy training and studying. In this tense atmosphere, even Chloe was quiet as a mouse, keeping her head down. But she wouldn't be quiet for long, because I had already prepared everything to drive out the fiend. What are you doing? Kidnapping is a crime. Do you know who my uncle is? I'll call the police. Chloe cowered in the back seat of the car, trembling and babbling incoherently. I turned and gave her a grim smile. You wanted to know where we're taking you? We're going to get rid of that bullying system of yours. Chloe's eyes widened in shock, her pupils contracting. She swallowed hard, her voice trembling. You know? With that, her eyes rolled back, and she fainted. When she woke up, she found herself lying in an old, decaying coffin. The traditional plum blossom coffin reeked of rotting wood. Sophie complained. Finding a coffin was hard enough, but one that's been buried for over 100 years? Do you know how much trouble that was? I patted the heavy wood. What do you know? A normal coffin wouldn't work. Only wood buried for over a century absorbs enough earth energy. Expelling a fiend requires the power of the 5 elements: earth, metal, water, wood, and fire. Earth is central, stable, and powerful. So, the first step was to have Chloe spend 3 days underground. Hearing she had to stay for 3 days, Chloe nearly had a breakdown. I gave her an oxygen tank, a flashlight, cookies, mineral water, and a stack of files, case files detailing the lives of the students she'd bullied to death, along with letters their families had written to them. Sophie, bring the 7-star nails. Amidst Chloe's hysterical screams, I hammered the nails in, lowered the coffin into the designated spot, covered it with dirt, and then drove back to school with Sophie to continue our studies. That woman was addicted to being a teacher, waking up earlier than a rooster, and going to bed later than a dog, finding new ways to torture the students every day. How are you getting away with all this? Why isn't the school saying anything? Sophie cracked her knuckles in a full 360-degree rotation, and then smoothed back her hair. Because I bought the school. From now on, our class schedule is being rolled out to everyone. 3 days passed in a flash for us, but for Chloe, it must have felt like an eternity. When we finally pulled her out of the coffin, she was in a daze. Kill me. Please just kill me. Chloe wailed, her face a mess of tears and snot. What are you talking about? We're exorcising you. We're saving you. Otherwise, once the fiend devours 7 souls, your body will become its vessel, a walking corpse that only obeys its commands. The second step of the exorcism was to take Chloe to a mine. It was an abandoned iron mine. Sophie was more capable than Doryman. She could get anything I asked for in minutes. I felt like I could have asked for a trip to the moon, and she'd make it happen. As before, I tossed Chloe a flashlight, 2 bags of compressed biscuits, and a few bottles of water, then left with Sophie. Chloe claimed she had claustrophobia and would surely die in there, But Sophie was unfazed. Don't worry. This mine is deep and long, like a bottomless pit. Even I don't know where it ends. You could walk for 3 days and be fine. It's not exactly a confined space. With earth and metal done, next was water. We took Chloe to the coast and locked her in a huge shark cage at the bottom of the sea for 3 days. After water came wood. This time, Chloe wasn't as scared. She stayed in a log cabin in a primeval forest, which to her felt like paradise. The grand finale was fire. This was the last step, and Sophie and I needed to be there the whole time. We took Chloe to a tropical region, found a rocky area, and had her sit on the ground. Why not the beach? It's burning up here, Sophie complained, sweating buckets in a nearby tent. The beach is all water, and water counters fire. It would weaken the effect. Rocks are different. Fire and earth work together. Finally, on the 3rd day at noon, I tied Chloe up tight, surrounded the area with impenetrable black cloth, and planted ritual flags. The cloth was a specially made burial shroud, the only thing that could contain a formless fiend. Soon, a fierce wind whipped across the rocky hill, making the black cloth rustle. A large bulge suddenly appeared on the western side of the enclosure. My heart leaped, the fiend was out. But as I reached for it, I realized something was wrong. The bulge felt round and firm, like a watermelon. Sophie, watch out. Chloe's ropes are loose. I kicked Chloe back into the center of the enclosure. This fiend was impressive. It had somehow managed to get Chloe free. I had tied her with a special military grate, not even a 400-pound pig could break. What followed was a game of whack-a-mole. Sophie and I each guarded 2 sides, pushing Chloe back every time she tried to break through. We were swamped. After more than an hour of this, the sweat on my back had dried and re-soaked so many times that salt crystals were flaking off as I moved. My throat was parched and raw. The air I breathed in was scorching, and a burning pain started in my lungs. By the power of the celestial dragon, as I punched another bulge in the cloth, everything inside suddenly went quiet. A moment later, the entire perimeter of the black cloth began to bubble and swell. I took a step back, watching the bulges warily. One of them was noticeably larger than the others. That's it. I threw the 5 emperor coins in my hand to pin the cloth down, pulled out a dagger, quickly cut a slit, and tied it shut with a ghost binding rope. It looked like a black Terra Boza doll. Got it. Holy crap, I'm exhausted. Sophie collapsed onto the ground, then immediately jumped up with a yelp. It's burning hot. Let's get out of this hellhole. I carefully placed the shroud containing the fiend into my pocket. With this, my KPI for the month was in the bag. When we removed the black cloth, we found Chloe lying unconscious in the middle of the circle, her face bruised and swollen, with a trickle of blood running from her nose. The school business was finally over. Sophie, however, had grown fond of her role as Teacher Crow and still spent her days wandering the campus. North Star High had undergone a major transformation, changing from a school for delinquents into a well-disciplined institution. Word got out, and many parents started sending their children there. Sophie was making a fortune. One day, Sophie came back from school and found me, looking conflicted. I think Chloe has a boyfriend. It's that guy, Aaron, Amy's brother. Should we do something about it? I stuck a finger in my ear. What was that? I can't hear you. I said Aaron. Apples? I don't like apples. Aaron. The normally sharp Sophie was being incredibly dense today. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. I don't want oranges either. Anyway, forget about that. We've got a big mission coming up. You need to get back from the school. Sophie's interest was immediately piqued, and she forgot all about Aaron. A big mission? What is it? End of part 1. Part 2. I got scammed by a telecom fraud operation. They also hacked my account and borrowed money from all my friends. But what the scammer didn't know was that my friends include a 1,000-year-old Taoist grandmaster, a century-old ghost from the Roaring Twenties, and the last living geomancer. Master Lucy, this is my son's birth chart. Do you think there's any hope for him? Sniff, everyone else says my son is already dead, but I don't believe it. He's my own flesh and blood. A mother knows. I know he's still alive. He has to be. On the live stream, A delicate-looking middle-aged woman with swollen, red eyes was sobbing uncontrollably. Viewers flooded the chat with messages of comfort, while a few trolls chimed in with snarky comments. Lady, your son went to the Golden Triangle with his friends? He was asking for it. Yeah, going to the triangle and then disappearing? He's either had his organs harvested, or he's being tortured with electric shocks. If he got roped into a scam ring, he might be better off dead. Ma'am, if your son is missing, you should call the police, not ask a livestream fortune teller what's going on. Come on, there's a limit to this superstitious nonsense. The woman broke down even further. She clutched her chest, her face pale. Alex, my Alex. Seeing her on the verge of fainting, I quickly scanned his birth chart, trying to find something nice to say. In this country, fortune tellers are way more effective than therapists. If you're depressed, a therapist will tell you it's because of your childhood trauma. A fortune teller will tell you it's just a rough patch in your astrological chart, and that things will get better in 2 months, giving you hope for the future. If your business fails, a fortune teller will tell you it's because your shop had bad feng shui, not because you're incompetent. You just picked the wrong spot. If you get dumped, a fortune teller will tell you they weren't your soulmate, just a fleeting romance. Your true love is much better and will bring you a happy marriage and a harmonious family. Basically, it's all fate's fault, the environment's fault. You can blame the placement of your shoe rack, the type of plant you have, or even the color of your clothes. The mistakes are external, all you have to do is look forward. My name is Lucy. I'm a Taoist priest and an online influencer. Every week I go live and do free readings for people. The last person in my queue today was this woman. Her son went on a trip to the triangle with friends, and has been missing for a month. She's reported it to the police and tried everything she can think of, but there's been no word. His fate is unknown. I can't stand seeing people cry, so no matter what his chart said, I had to give her some words of comfort. I glanced at the birth chart and was surprised. A lifeline in a desperate situation. A benefactor approaches from the south. Ma'am, please stop crying. Your son is indeed in danger, but today marks a turning point for him. A guardian angel has appeared, and he will soon be out of harm's way. His chart shows an abundance of metal and a lack of fire, meaning he's stubborn and doesn't listen to advice. But his destiny is strong. The coming years are filled with fire and wood elements. He'll live to be 70 or 80, no problem. The woman finally stopped crying. She sniffled and looked at the camera, half believing. Master Lucy, are you telling the truth? Truer than gold. I looked at her sincerely, trying to convince her with my eyes. Lucy, I'm back. Hey, what was the emergency? I transferred you $5 million. Is that enough? Sophie strolled in with 2 cups of bubble tea, handing one to me. But I had no idea what she was talking about. Money? What money? I didn't ask you for any money. Now it was Sophie's turn to be shocked. Her eyes went wide. Didn't you just text me saying you had an emergency and needed me to wire you some cash? I grabbed my phone and tried to open my messaging app, but I couldn't log in. My live stream was still running in my panic. I'd forgotten to end it. Holy shit. My account's been hacked. Sophie snatched my phone and stared at it for a moment before delivering the final blow. What is this app? Why do you have 2 identical shopping apps? I scratched my head in confusion. I got a call earlier from someone claiming to be customer service for that shopping app. They said they were beta testing a new version and wanted me to help, and they'd give me coupons when I was done. Sophie looked at me with an expression of pure pity. You idiot. You've been phished. That's a virus. It can steal all your personal information. I, Lucy, am a once-in-a-century genius of the Taoist order. My spiritual foundation is flawless. My mastery of the sacred arts is complete. My martial skills are unparalleled, and my intellect is brilliant. I can capture ghosts and vanquish demons, punish the wicked and protect the innocent. Without me, the order would be lost in an endless night. And this unparalleled genius just got scammed? Lol, even a master of the mystic arts can get scammed. I wonder if Master Lucy ever foresaw this in her own chart? Well, that's it for me. I thought she was a real master, but she gets fished like the rest of us. That billionaire heir, Mason, and the movie star, Ethan, are friends with her, right? I wonder how much the scammer got. All her friends seem to be loaded. This is wild. The scammer probably never imagined he'd score this big. He just hit his KPI for the next lifetime. I stood there, clutching my phone, frozen like a statue. It was Sophie who reminded me to finally end the live stream. Sophie knew basically all the friends I'd made since I left the temple. She posted on her social feed that my account had been hacked and asked everyone who had loaned me money to report in. The total came in quickly, a grand total of $150 million. I was still in a daze when I sat down at the police station. Officer Evans looked at me sympathetically. Lucy, I'm afraid you're not getting that money back. The situation in the triangle is complicated. Where's Lucy? Get out here. Give me back my $1 million. Jade stormed in like a hurricane, grabbing me by the collar and spraying spit in my face. Damn it, that was $1 million. That was my life savings scraped together through blood, sweat, and sleepless nights. I wiped the spit off my face. Before I could say anything, one of Officer Evans's colleagues handed me my phone. We got your account back. Take a look. I scrolled through the transactions, my heart sinking at the numbers. Sophie, $5 million Bell, $5 million Ethan, $10 million Mason, $20 million. Even my perpetually broke order had scrounged up $10 million. Jade, $500. Huh. $500? I rubbed my eyes and checked again. Yep, it was $500. Ha 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 ha. Was it $500? I could have sworn I sent you $1 million. Ah, I'm getting old. My memory's not what it used to be, ha ha ha. Jade stood with her hands on her hips, laughing. Under my death stare, her laughter slowly faded. What? Isn't $500 money? I worked hard for that $500. That's it. Those bastard scammers. I'm going to the triangle to get my money back. That's right. I have to get my money back. When I left the police station, my master called me. His tone was so grave it made me hang my head in shame. Our order has never suffered such a devastating blow in its entire history. A total wipeout. A true and complete wipeout. Lucy, you get yourself to the triangle right now. Immediately. Now. I immediately went home with Sophie to pack. Before we were even ready, my phone rang again. Familiar voice, familiar script. This time, I'd won a prize in a lottery and needed to log into a website to claim it. They were really getting addicted to this. Did they think I was a total moron? I gave a grim smile. You're really trying to fleece this one sheep for all it's worth, aren't you? The person on the other end gave a bitter laugh. Sorry, I really didn't expect to get this much. Usually with these hacked accounts, a few hundred or a few thousand is the most you can hope for. But well, the organization gave an order, said I had to scam you one more time. I was grinding my teeth. Do you dare to tell me your name and birth date? It was an absurd request, but to my surprise he answered, his voice clear and young. My name is Alex. My birth date is date. What, are you going to come find me? This place, even gods fall when they come here. You'll just have to accept your bad luck. Huh. Why did that birth date sound so familiar? I did a quick calculation on my fingers and realized it was the exact birth chart of the missing son of the woman from my livestream. So, lifeline in a desperate situation. A benefactor approaches from the south. I was the unlucky guardian angel? I slammed my fist on the table and screamed. Alex, you just wait. We sped up our packing. Before we could even leave, Jade showed up with a backpack. I gave her my best. Are you serious? Look, Jade, are you for real? You're coming with us to the triangle for a measly $500? Jade snorted. Just tell me, were you planning on paying that $500 back or not? Pay it back. Why would I? I'm not the one who borrowed it. Ha. I knew it. You shameless jerk. I've decided I'm getting that $500 back myself. As Jade and I were in the middle of a heated argument, there were 3 soft knocks on the door. A stunningly beautiful woman with a seductive figure leaned against the doorframe and shot me a wink. Oh, it's a full house. Did I come at a bad time? Her voice was soft and flirtatious, the ends of her words trailing off like little hooks that sent a shiver down my spine. Jade and I immediately stopped fighting. I retracted my celestial dragon pose. and Jade aborted her. Great rock spreads its wings stance. Belle. Jade stood up straight, her expression turning unusually serious. She sized Belle up for a moment before asking uncertainly, a spectral cultivator? A century-old ghost who has formed a spiritual core. Ghosts are creatures of Een, only able to appear at night when the Een energy is strong. But a spectral cultivator is a ghost that has learned magical arts, using cultivation to strengthen its own Een energy. Powerful ones can even manifest a physical body and walk in the daylight. Don't be rude. I'm not a century-old ghost. I'm just a lost soul who strayed from the path to the underworld. I had actually helped Belle form her spiritual core. After the haunted house she worked at went out of business, I had her perform 100 good deeds to accumulate merit. Once she had enough, I helped her cultivate her core. Belle had transformed from a ghost who preyed on scumbags for their life force into a spiritual practitioner. You troublemaker. You scammed away my entire life savings. Tell me, how are you going to make it up to me? Belle poked my head with her finger, then winked at Sophie. Sophie, darling, it's been so long. Why haven't you said hello? And so what was supposed to be a trip for two became a team of 4. Before we left, I made sure to get a photo of Alex from Officer Evans. His mother had been to the station several times, so Evans remembered him well. To attract the attention of the scamming organization, we all dressed plainly, looking like college students. The moment we stepped out of the airport, we drew a lot of stares. After all, young, beautiful girls are a rarity in the triangle. Sophie was bright and commanding, Belle was cute and charming. I was the Taoist equivalent of a supermodel. And Jade, well, Jade was just there, unremarkable and not worth mentioning. After turning down the 8th person who tried to hit on us, Jade and I exchanged a look of mutual delight. Eyes showing too much white, face fleshy, veins popping, brows heavy and low. Oh yes, a perfect killer's face. Vicious and ruthless. Jade nodded in satisfaction. Not bad, not bad. Pointed head, narrow forehead, no sign of nobility. Sunken brow, a lifetime of struggle. Small face, low nose, teeth not covered by lips, a violent temper and the heart of a wolf. He's the one. This guy has at least 10 lives on his hands. Let's pick him, he's perfect. A short, sleazy-looking man quickly approached us. When he spoke, his voice was as grating as a broken gong. Looking for a job, little ladies? Our company is hiring models. Room and board included, $30,000 a month. It'd be a real shame for girls as pretty as you not to be models. Belle swayed forward, her opening line a fatal blow. Really, big brother? You wouldn't lie to us, would you? We're just college students, you know. That big brother was so full of twists and turns that the man's legs almost gave out. Here's my card. My name is Rico. You can call me Brother Rico. Our company is the biggest modeling agency around here. How could I lie to a few sweet girls like you? We exchanged a look, feigning hesitation. Seeing this, Rico immediately grabbed the luggage from Belle's hands. You must have just arrived, right? Come on, wherever you want to go, I'll give you a ride. Once you find a hotel, how about you come check out my company? It's right in the city center, the tallest building there. And so, with feigned apprehension, we got into Rico's small van. As soon as we drove away from the airport, a black van started tailing us. I glanced back and saw it was filled with 4 or 5 burly men. Next to Rico sat a quiet young man in his early 20s with tan skin and large, dark eyes. Belle leaned forward and poked his shoulder, and the young man turned red from head to toe, looking like a piece of burning charcoal. Hey there, cutie. Can you really get us modeling jobs? The boy shot a nervous glance at Rico and didn't dare to speak. Rico glared at him. This is my nephew Leo. He's a real blockhead, can't get a word out of him. Sorry about that. Belle sniffed the air and gave Leo a sweet smile. You have a very special scent about you. Rico gave Belle a strange look before turning back to the road. The van drove further and further into remote territory. We all started to get nervous. I pretended to be scared and pounded on the window. Stop the car. This isn't the way to the city. Where are you taking us? Stop the car. Hey, relax. Our company has a photo shoot in the mountains today. I'm just taking you to see the location. Rico didn't even turn his head, just kept driving faster. I tried to open the door, but it was locked, and the windows wouldn't roll down. Now everyone started to panic. Belle was on the verge of tears. Stop the car. Brother Rico, where are you taking us? I'm so scared, Wah. Uncle, maybe you should just let them go. They look like they're still students. Shut up. Rico slapped Leo across the face. Leo froze, then started convulsing. Guttural sounds escaped his throat, the veins in his neck bulged, and his eyes widened. He clutched at his chest, gasping for air as if he were being strangled. After a moment of struggle, Leo managed to turn around. He choked out a few sounds before forcing out some words. Run. The moment he spoke, the skin on his face began to ripple violently, as if something were alive underneath. His once white eyes were now filled with a dense web of black lines. A ghost. Belle couldn't hold it in any longer and screamed, clinging to Sophie. Rico, still driving, saw our terrified reactions and flashed a smug grin, revealing a set of yellow teeth. That's not a ghost. It's a hex. Ever heard of Southeast Asian hexes? The hex master puts parasitic worms inside your body. If you don't obey, you'll end up just like him. The feeling of tens of thousands of little worms crawling under your skin. I'm guessing you don't want to try that. Jade's face went pale. She clutched her bag, trembling with fear. A hex. No, that's impossible. My teacher said that's just superstition. Things like that can't be real. Damn her, she was a better actor than I was. I couldn't lose. Wah, I don't want to be eaten by worms. Let me go home. I want to go home. Amidst our chorus of screams, the van drove on steadily. Leo, after struggling for a bit, gradually returned to normal. We're here. Get out. We got out of the van, holding hands like a group of frightened quail. And with that, a grand, living hell opened its mysterious gates to us. Whoa. Brother Rico. You're the man. Where did you find such top-tier goods? Amazing. By the way, the boss was just looking for you. You should go see him. As soon as Rico got out of the van, several people came up to greet him. The rest of them stared at us, their faces filled with greed, desire, and ferocity. I stood with my head down and my shoulders hunched, but my eyes darted around, taking everything in. We were in a deep mountain forest. Next to the parking lot were a few old 5- or 6-story buildings. Not far from there stood a particularly striking building, glittering and opulent, like a high-end luxury hotel. Leo, you give them the tour. After that, put them in the cages. S-size. Don't mess it up. After giving Leo his orders, Rico motioned for 2 large, muscular men to follow us. Leo kept his head down, not daring to meet our eyes. With a wooden expression, he turned and gestured for us to follow. The company ranks you based on your earning potential. The highest is S, followed by A, B, C, and the lowest is D. This is the water dungeon. It's for the D ranks. We use it to demand ransom from their families. When the money stops coming, they get. Leo paused. Dismantled and sold on the black market. Dismantled? Belle looked confused. Sophie leaned in and whispered. It means they harvest their organs and sell them. Jade and I said nothing. Standing on the walkway of the water dungeon, I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. The sharp pain kept me grounded. Son of a. Jade couldn't hold it in and exploded. I pretended to be scared and grabbed her, whispering a warning in her ear. Calm down. Leo has a heart-eater hex on him. We don't know how many curse masters are in this place. Don't blow our cover. The narrow water dungeon was lined with cages, each holding a haggard person with a pale, swollen face. Many had festering sores. They weren't really cells, more like cages. The cages were only about 3 feet high, forcing the people inside to squat. Iron chains were locked around their necks. The yellowish water they were half submerged in was filled with floating rat carcasses and human waste. The stench of rot and filth was nauseating. As we entered, many of the people in the water dungeon didn't even lift their heads. The few who did turn around had numb, lifeless expressions. They seemed to have lost all will to live, reduced to walking corpses. Leo sighed. Disobedient women often have it much worse than the men. Now that you're here, don't even think about running. You can't escape. You'll only bring more suffering on yourselves. Just be obedient, work hard, and you'll live longer. You'll get to live like a person. Next, Leo showed us the women who had tried to resist. Girls in tattered clothes, covered in blood, lay on crude wooden planks with chains on their ankles, all with the same numb and hopeless expressions. After the intimidation tour, Leo took us to a small room. It had 2 bunk beds and was cramped and claustrophobic. With no windows, the smell was awful. A single, yellowed light bulb dangled from the ceiling. The room was basic, but compared to the water dungeon, it was a palace. You guys rest for a bit. When the manager is free, someone will come get you. Leo locked the door and left, but a few steps later, he turned back. Remember, be obedient. Otherwise, you'll be sent to the beast arena. As soon as Leo was gone, Sophie erupted. Holy shit, these animals. I can't take it. I really can't. Let's just drop an atom bomb on this whole place. Belle also sat on the bed, her face grim. Hell is empty, and all the devils are here. For ordinary people, this place is worse than hell. A heavy weight settled in my chest, making it hard to breathe. This region is full of these operations, all with tangled interests. We might be able to take down one, but probably not all of them. Jade gritted her teeth in hatred. We save who we can. We can't do anything about what we don't see, but we have to save everyone we do see. Interesting. Very interesting. Who are you planning to save? A deep male voice echoed through the dim, narrow room. I looked up at the corner of the ceiling and fell silent. 4 people, 8 eyes, and not a single one of you noticed the surveillance camera in here? Dead before we even started. We stared at each other, a heavy silence filling the room. A moment later, the door opened, and we were taken up an elevator to the top floor. Top shelf. Absolutely top shelf. I haven't seen goods this good in years. You were just talking about saving people. Don't tell me you're reporters. A large sofa facing the window spun around, revealing a fat man with a big head and large ears. He looked us up and down with delight, his expression growing more and more satisfied. I stepped forward, chin up, and looked him right in the eye. That's right. We're journalists, and we're here to expose your crimes. Ha 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 ha. The man clutched his stomach, laughing so hard that tears streamed down his face. After a moment, he pulled out a handkerchief, wiped his chubby face, and pressed a button on his desk. Please send for Master Hay. After hanging up, he continued to look at us with amusement. Little ladies, there are many things in this world that are beyond your understanding. Without darkness, there can be no light. Without evil, how can there be justice? Stop trying to save the world all day. See, you've gotten yourselves trapped. Unlike the vicious criminal I had imagined, this fat man looked harmless and spoke in a pleasant tone. Not long after he hung up, there was a knock on the door, and a thin, withered old man in a black robe walked in. The moment he entered, Belle hid behind me. Master Hay, sorry to trouble you. This batch is just too beautiful. I'm afraid they won't behave, and if they get damaged, they won't be worth as much. The withered old man had sunken eyes, sallow skin, and a pockmarked face. When he opened his mouth, even his teeth were black. At first glance, he didn't look human, he looked like a demon. He studied us intently before nodding at the fat manager. It can be done. A flower snake hex should do the trick. My heart skipped a beat. The flower snake hex was one of the most vicious curses, specifically used on women. A woman under its spell becomes insatiable, needing a man every day. If she goes one day without, it feels like thousands of insects are devouring her from the inside out, and her skin will itch unbearably. When the hex takes effect, if the victim can't find relief, she will scratch her own skin raw and, in extreme agony, even gouge out her own eyes. But this hex was difficult to cast, and the materials were extremely rare. The curse master raises a special type of venomous snake called a flower snake. From birth, these snakes must be fed with the blood of men with a purely Een birth chart. After 81 days, the snakes develop beautiful, petal-like patterns on their skin. Casting the hex is simple. Just let the flower snake crawl into the person's mouth. You're lucky. I just finished raising 3 new babies a few days ago. 1 for each of you. The old man took a black clay pot from his robe. Before he could open it, The fat manager got antsy. Master Hay, there are 4 of them. Belle shot us a playful wink. It seemed she had used a ghost glamour to cloud the curse master's vision. A curse master has a connection to his snakes, but a ghost is just a mass of energy, without a physical body. A flower snake couldn't enter Belle's body, so rather than letting the curse master discover her true nature, it was better to just make him not see her at all. I secretly gave Belle a thumbs up. Fatty, what are you talking about? There have always been just 3 of us, I said, pretending to be scared and shooting a look at Sophie and Jade. Now the manager panicked. He pointed a trembling finger at Belle. She's a whole person. You can't see her. And then, as his finger trembled, Belle dissolved into a black mist and vanished into thin air. A ghost. The manager shot up from his chair, defying gravity, and scrambled behind Master Hay. Master Hay, didn't you say our compound is protected by some kind of soul killer array? That when people die here, their souls are immediately destroyed. Otherwise, with people dying every day, this place would have turned into a ghost paradise by now. A soul killer array? Whoever set that up must be a powerful practitioner. It seemed this place was full of hidden dangers, not just curse masters, but dark sorcerers too. After Master Hay confirmed several times that he couldn't see Belle, the manager was in a daze. Did I imagine it? Such a beautiful woman. Did I just make her up? Just then, another young man walked in, interrupting the manager's reverie. Sir, the casino is ready. Should we send the people over today? The manager slumped in his chair and waved a weak hand. After Master Hay is finished, send them over. The casino? Sophie tilted her head arrogantly. I'm not going to the casino. I'm going to the telecom fraud department. After the shock, the manager had lost all patience. Who the hell do you think you are? You think you can choose? If you say one more word, I can scam 100 million for you. You want to give it a try? What have you got to lose? After some intense negotiation from Sophie, she was taken to the telecom department. The manager looked grim, muttering about finding some Master Joe to check him out. Jade and I were led away by Master Hay. He seemed to have a high status here. Everyone we passed flattened themselves against the wall to avoid him. On the way, we ran into Leo. He reached out a hand as if to stop us but couldn't say a word. He just stood there, clenching his fists, watching us walk away. 2 people, 3 snakes. It's rare for me to show mercy, so you can choose. Master Hay carefully took 3 small snakes from the pot. They were about the thickness of a baby's finger and a palm's length, each a different color, blue, green, and white. I had to admit, with their bright red petal patterns, they were quite pretty. I gestured to Jade. You're the smart one. You go first. Jade's mouth twitched. You're taller. You first. You're the college student. You first. You're stronger. You first. You have longer hair. You first. You have bigger eyes. You first. You're younger. You first. Shut up. Master Hay slammed the table, unable to take it anymore. Don't make me force you. You'll do it together. Jade and I had no choice but to swallow the snakes. She chose the green one, and I chose the white one. The moment the snake entered my body, it shot down to my spiritual center, curled up, and didn't dare to move. Jade's blood was a rare type in the Taoist order known as 3 purities blood. It was exceptionally pure, containing a balance of yin and yang, making it anathema to all evil things. My birth chart was pure yin, and my blood was the equally rare supreme yin blood. The path of yin and yang is a cycle. Extreme yin gives birth to yang, and extreme yang gives birth to yin. My blood was rich with the life-giving energy of nascent yang, a powerful force that could destroy any evil. Basically, when Jade and I get old, we could make a comfortable living just by selling our blood. So the moment the snake entered my body, it froze. I even had to use my own spiritual energy to protect it, otherwise it would have been dead in under a minute. After swallowing the snakes, Jade and I were dragged, crying and wailing, to the casino. It turned out the casino was the opulent hotel-like building I had seen earlier. A woman in her early 30s with an average face, but a very alluring figure met us. She told us to call her Red. Red was very pleased with Jade and me and even declared she would train us to be the top hostesses. The casino was called the Red Pavilion, and it was filled with beautiful girls. They were responsible for entertaining the casino's high-rolling clients, eating, drinking, and playing with them. Their KPI was based on who could get their clients to spend the most money. So the girls had to rack their brains to get the clients to lose as much as possible at the tables. But when the clients lost money, they were often unhappy and would take it out on the girls, playing games that were increasingly perverse. But if the girls didn't meet their quotas, they would be punished by the organization in various ways. The worst performers were even sold to the Beast Arena. For these girls, every path was a dead end. The Beast Arena was a local attraction that made everyone's blood run cold. Jade and I only learned about it from Red. It turned out to be just like the ancient Roman Colosseum, except the combatants were ordinary girls and wild beasts. Hunting dogs, venomous insects, pythons, bears, wolves, and all sorts of other animals. Many people with special tastes enjoyed watching helpless girls cry and scream under the claws of beasts before being torn apart. Red had Jade and me change into matching blue and white sailor-style schoolgirl outfits. Excellent, truly excellent. A pure and innocent look like yours is what Asian men love most. Red was extremely satisfied. To motivate us to work hard, she generously treated us to a meal at the cafeteria. The compound had cafeterias, restaurants, karaoke bars, a red light district, supermarkets, and even a shopping mall. Those who performed well here not only ate and lived well, but also received commissions and bonuses from the organization. The catch was that the money couldn't be taken out, it could only be used within the compound. See that young man over there? He was our top performer last week. Guess how much he brought in? $150 million. Red held up 5 fingers, looking with envy at the young man sitting quietly by himself, eating from his tray. I followed her gaze and nearly ground my teeth to dust. Alex. It was that little bastard Alex. He looked like he was doing just fine. It seemed he didn't need our saving for the time being. Last month he was beaten half to death, locked in a dog cage and fed leftovers. But then he got smart. Now he lives in a single room with air conditioning and can eat in the cafeteria. You two work hard. I've got a good feeling about you. We'd barely had a few bites when the sound of firecrackers erupted outside, followed by fireworks lighting up the sky. Jade and I looked out the window confused. It's just getting dark. Why are they setting off fireworks? Red's voice was tinged with envy. That's to celebrate a big score. It looks like it's from the telecom department. They've been on a roll lately. The Red Pavilion can't even compete. Just then, a man in glasses carrying a tray passed by our table. Red quickly stopped him. Your department landed another big one? The man nodded, a dazed look in his eyes. It was a girl who just came in today. She's really pretty. She just made a few calls and pulled in $30 million. I didn't see her use any special tricks. She just said something about being short on cash and needing some spending money. And then bam, $30 million was in the account. Incredible, just incredible. The department has a real cash cow on its hands now. From his description, I knew it had to be that fool Sophie. Money really did make the world go round. No swallowing snakes, no sailor outfits, just straight to top performer. Hearing this, Jade and I couldn't help but share Red's envy. Red was relatively kind to us. After dinner, she let us rest in our room, telling us to be ready to greet clients at 8 p.m. As soon as Red left, Belle floated in. Her usual playful smile was gone, replaced by a serious expression. There are too many arrays here. Not just a soul killer array, but wealth gathering arrays, nurturing arrays, and demon luring arrays, all overlapping. The core points are extremely well hidden. It'll take more than a day or two to disable them without being noticed. Plus, the people here have guns. A lot of them. We can't fight an army with our bare hands. It would be easy for us to escape on our own, but saving everyone else was a monumental task. Jade and I sat on the bed, deep in thought, but couldn't come up with a good plan. Ooh, what are you two playing at? Costume party. Belle had just noticed our outfits. She covered her mouth and giggled like a hen. You know, it's actually pretty cute. I rolled my eyes in annoyance. All right. Go scout out the terrain and get a lay of the land. Be careful of that Master Zhou, who set up the arrays. He's powerful. If you can't beat him, run. Belle hummed a tune and floated away. But not before pinching both of our cheeks. Have fun with the big shots, darlings. I'm off. Jade and I walked out of the room with long faces, looking more like we were heading to a funeral than to work. Red pinched the soft flesh at my waist. I barely reacted, but Jade shot 3 feet into the air. Ow. Murder. That hurts, that hurts. Red's hand froze midair. She looked at Jade with a complicated expression. That little thing hurts? You're in for a rough time then. All right, stop looking like you're at a funeral. We have a major client tonight. If you don't want to end up in the beast arena, then smile. Jade and I forced smiles that were uglier than crying. We followed Red, one after the other, silently cursing the owners of this compound 1,000 times over in our heads. My client was a short, fat man shaped like a ball. Jade's was tall and muscular, covered in tattoos, and looked like he had a violent streak. Red called my client Mr. Yang. From what she said, he owned several coal mines. Jade's client, on the other hand, was an arms dealer, supposedly very famous in the Triangle. Mr. Yang had a huge gambling addiction but was terrible at it. The real reason, though, was that the casino was under a wealth-gathering array that only let money in, never out. Even a god of gambling would lose his shirt here. Miss Jewel, would you like to play a few hands? Jewel was my stage name. Jade's was Rainy, which was much lamer than mine. Can I really? I'm not very good. Don't worry, don't worry. Your losses are on me. And if I win? Mr. Yang slapped his belly and laughed. If you win, it's your tip. Seeing Mr. Yang's generosity, Jade's mob boss client also smiled and stroked her face. If you win, it's yours too. Jade and I were instantly thrilled. Jade didn't even seem to mind being touched. Using the excuse of needing the restroom, Jade and I split up. I stuffed a talisman into the mouth of a Pichio statue, stuck a dagger into the pot of a money tree at the array's core, and secretly flipped a bagua mirror upside down. We flew around the casino, quickly dismantling about 70 or 80% of the wealth-gathering array. Triple sixes. All kill. All in. 3 aces. I'll take your straight flush. Ha 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 ha, self-drawn pure suit, I win. By the end, a crowd had gathered around both of us. Red was on the sidelines, blinking so much her eyes were about to cramp, but I refused to leave the table. Miss Jewel, I think you've played enough. How about the next hand? I pushed Mr. Yang's face away with my palm. Spit it out, can't you see I'm on a roll? Come on, let the music play, let the dice roll. Coward. Are you a man or not? If you're a man, bet 5 million with me. Oh my God. Gambling was so much fun. Why had no one ever told me how fun gambling was? By the time an exasperated Red had her men drag Jade and me away from the tables, my chip stack had grown to over 80 million, and Jade's was at 70 million. In just one night, we made $150 million? Holy crap. This was faster than robbing a bank. Red kept apologizing to Mr. Yang and the mob boss, but Mr. Yang just waved his hand with a grin. No problem, no problem. Miss Jewel has personality. I like it. I gave Mr. Yang a fawning look. Mr. Yang, you're so generous. A true man. A real man. So about the money I won. Red pinched me and had the chips packed into a box, which she respectfully presented to Mr. Yang and the mob boss. All that hard work for nothing? Jade went ballistic. She broke free from the men holding her and lunged for the box of chips. My money. My 70 million. Stop it. Red's face darkened. She had someone bring over a bottle of liquor and started forcing it down our throats. Don't pour it on me. I don't want it. Tui tui, wait, is this Maudai? Hey, don't take it away. A little more. This casino was loaded. Even a random bottle they grabbed was top-shelf liquor. Mr. Yang, my apologies. These two are new and disobedient. I'll have Rose and Jasmine accompany you instead. Red dragged me by the ear, storming back to our room. She threw us on the floor. Her demeanor had completely changed. She was now cold and menacing. This must be her true self. Red, the boss of the Red Pavilion. Since you won't appreciate kindness, don't blame me for being cruel. Red sneered, her narrow eyes scanning us from head to toe. The flower snakes in your bodies are about to act up, aren't they? Alcohol makes them even more agitated. Today, you'll get to experience the full pleasure of 10,000 worms eating your heart out. 10,000 worms? Flower snakes? Oh crap, I forgot about that. Jade and I exchanged a look. It was time for an acting competition. Jade screamed and clutched her head, then started rolling around on the floor. Not to be outdone, I lay on the ground and began convulsing, trying to mimic an epileptic seizure. After a while, I ran out of energy, and Jade stopped rolling. I knew what she was about to do just by the way she moved, so I beat her to it. I let out a loud cry, rolled my eyes back, and passed out on the spot. I was exhausted. Convulsing was way more tiring than rolling around. I should have chosen to roll. Soon, Jade couldn't keep it up either and lay motionless on the floor. I suspected she was just taking a nap. Red walked over and kicked me. When I didn't respond, she motioned to a bodyguard in a black suit. Watch them tonight. If they pass out, splash them with water to wake them up. Make sure they suffer all night, understand? Red left with her men. I shot up from the floor and came face to face with the bodyguard, who was just about to lift my skirt. Hey buddy, what do you think you're doing? The bodyguard grinned menacingly. Good you're awake. It's more fun when you're awake. Jade and I were both full of pent-up anger with nowhere to direct it. We instantly perked up and used the bodyguard as a punching bag. Alright, that's enough. He's already unconscious. My 70 million. 70 million. 70 million. Jade kicked him a few more times before collapsing onto the bed. This is no fun. Lame. They won't even let us gamble. Sigh. Forget gambling, we've got work to do. I pulled Jade up. While I was faking the seizure, an idea had come to me. This compound had numerous arrays, and breaking them would be difficult. But adding another one would be relatively easy. A 5 elements ghost luring array, a 7-star soul summoning array. Jade and I could set up a few more arrays here and draw in every ghost within a 100-mile radius. The soul killer array in the compound only worked on newly deceased souls. It couldn't handle old ghosts that had been dead for years or decades. Jade's eyes lit up. She slapped the bed and sat up excitedly. Let's just move the ghost gate here. The ghost gate is the portal between the human world and the underworld. Some ghosts get bored in the underworld and like to take a stroll in the human realm, and they have to pass through the ghost gate to do it. In the human world, ghost gates are usually located in remote places to avoid contact with the living. Jade was a geomancer, and I was a Taoist genius. Moving a ghost gate would take some effort, but it wasn't impossible for us. Belle would set up the 5 elements ghost luring array and the 7-star soul summoning array. Jade would move the ghost gate, and I would lay a Bagua bewilderment array over the entire compound. This array was like a supernatural maze. People inside couldn't get out, and people outside couldn't get in. The two of us and the ghost worked all night, and finally finished everything before dawn. Jade and I collapsed onto our beds and fell asleep instantly. We were sound asleep when a piercing scream erupted from outside our door. There's a ghost. I shot out of bed and rushed outside. The door was locked from the outside. I simply leaped up and kicked the lock off. Jade was right behind me. The hallway was filled with a black mist, and dozens of black hands were reaching out from the peeling walls, grasping at the air. It must be dawn. A sliver of light was visible on the horizon. These ghosts were really something, starting their workday so early. The entire building was in chaos. People were running everywhere, and soon, the sound of gunfire echoed through the halls. Jade and I joined the stampede, following a group of burly men. The men were shooting at the walls and swinging chairs as they stumbled toward the open parking lot. The lot was already packed with people, and the crowd seemed to give everyone a bit more courage. What the hell? I was taking a crap this morning, felt an itch on my butt, reached down to scratch, and grabbed a hand. Scared the living daylights out of me. That's nothing. I was brushing my teeth in front of the mirror, and my reflection suddenly reached out and started choking me. I was so scared I swallowed a mouthful of toothpaste. Don't even talk about it. I was with a girl this morning, and her face suddenly started to melt. Her eyes, teeth, and skin just fell off onto my face. One of her eyeballs fell into my mouth, and I accidentally swallowed it. Jade and I listened with great interest. This was way more exciting than any ghost story online. So cool. The chaos continued for a while, until the fat manager came out to take charge. Standing beside him was a stoic old man. Everyone, quiet down. The big boss is here, and next to him is Master Zhou. You've all heard of him. He's a famous master in the triangle. A few little ghosts are nothing to him. So that old man was Master Zhou. Jade and I exchanged a look and subtly moved closer. When the rooster crows, the ghost gate closes. When the first sunbeam shines, all ghosts vanish. Master Zhou's deep, grating voice rang out. It will be the hour of Mao soon. When the sun is fully up, the ghosts will retreat. Everyone, please remain calm. Hearing this, everyone around us breathed a sigh of relief. Not long after Master Zhou spoke, the sky grew brighter, and rays of light shot out from behind the distant mountains. Everyone watched the horizon, quietly waiting for the sun to rise. The sun didn't rise. A black fog did. Countless dark clouds rolled in overhead, quickly covering the entire sky. The faint dawn light was replaced by a darkness as deep as night. I shrieked in a high-pitched voice. Oh no! Master Zhou was eaten by a ghost. Another stampede began. With demons on the loose, bosses and leaders didn't matter anymore. Survival was all that counted. People ran around like headless chickens. Many of the weaker ones were pushed to the ground and trampled. Jade and I joined the chaos. While others were busy escaping, we were busy trampling people. Most of the people in the parking lot were management, guards, and veteran employees. The poor souls being forced to work were still locked in their rooms. Many people got in cars and sped toward the compound gate, only to drive back a few moments later. The fat manager stumbled out of a car, his face pale. It's no good. The gate is gone. It's turned into a wall. A tall, lean, middle-aged man got out of the back seat and slapped him across the face. What are you panicking for? Go find Master Zhou. Master Zhou? Master Zhou was currently under our feet. We had already trampled him unconscious. He was an old man after all, and his bones couldn't take a beating. He'd been pushed to the ground at the start of the chaos. He might be good at setting up arrays, but in a fight, 10 of him wouldn't be a match for me. I stepped off him. That was enough. The injuries would keep him in a hospital for the rest of his life. In the confusion, Jade and I kidnapped the compound's big boss. The loyal bodyguards around him were knocked out with a few punches. Quick, hand over your money. The boss had nerves of steel. He didn't even blink. Heh, you little girls think you can play gangster. I slapped him across the face. What nonsense are you talking? We're the good guys, you idiot. The boss sneered and shut his mouth, refusing to say a word no matter how much I hit him. Jade gave me a look. Forget it, we have other things to do. Let's save the people first. I nodded, dragged the boss to a corner, tied him up, and left with Jade. As soon as we were gone, his assistant ran over with a laptop. I saw a familiar, charming figure behind the assistant and grinned. When Belle is on the job, success is guaranteed. Jade and I split up. She went to the water dungeon, and I went to the beast arena to free people. I had no idea where Sophie was. As I entered the beast arena, I caught a familiar, heart-stopping scent. The first floor of the arena was lined with cages. On the left were wild animals, on the right were girls whose faces were beaten beyond recognition. I clutched my chest, my heart pounding. A strong sense of foreboding washed over me. I walked deeper into the dim corridor and turned a corner, arriving at the largest cage. Inside the cage were dozens of girls. Each had her wrists slit, and their blood flowed across the floor toward the center of the cage, where 7 broken bowls were placed. Floating in the bowls were 7 beautiful flower buds. One of them had already started to open, a sight both eerie and beautiful. Crimson vengeance. 7 of them. I swallowed a scream and turned to run as if a pack of dogs were chasing me. A crimson vengeance is born from the souls of 100 innocent women who died wrongful deaths. When it appears, there is no known way to stop it. It's not quite a ghost, not quite a demon. It's more like a curse born from the flesh, blood, and soul of hundreds of women. This powerful resentment can only be appeased by 1,000 lives. 1,000 dead, and the curse will be broken. Jade. Sophie. Belle. Run. Judging by the state of the flower buds, we had half an hour at most. I had just run out of the dungeon when I crashed into Leo. I grabbed him by the collar. Quick, get everyone out. A missile is aimed at this place. It's going to hit in half an hour. Explaining a crimson vengeance would be a waste of time, but the effect of 7 of them would be about the same as a missile. Soon, Sophie ran over with Alex, who was followed by a few bruised and beaten young men. There were several large buses in the parking lot. We shoved the people we rescued onto the buses, and then ran back toward the water dungeon and the red pavilion. After a few trips back and forth, the feeling of dread grew stronger. I clutched my chest and grabbed Jade. There's no time. If we don't go now, we're all going to die here. We had rescued everyone who could still walk. The only ones left were those who were so severely injured they were barely breathing. Jade bit her lip and looked back toward the water dungeon one last time before hardening her heart and turning away. Let's go. Under our command, the buses sped out of the compound. Almost as soon as we left, dark clouds from all directions converged over the compound. Lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled in the clouds. Faster. Faster. The bus raced away. Behind us, a black mist spread out like a tide, blooming into a mushroom cloud. After what felt like an eternity of driving, the clouds finally began to dissipate, and the view cleared up. I checked a road sign. We had left the town and reached the border of the next one. Sophie wiped the sweat from her brow and collapsed next to me. That town's probably going to become a ghost town now, right? We saved a few hundred people, but there's no way there were 7,000 people in that compound. 1,000 lives to quell the curse. This was a notorious scam town with dozens of such compounds. The Crimson Vengeance's primary targets would be the men who had abused women. The souls of those killed by the curse would become vengeful ghosts. With 7,000 vengeful ghosts, this place would soon have a higher concentration of Een energy than the underworld. Sigh, we'll have to trouble my master to set up a barrier and seal off the whole town to prevent innocent people from wandering in. Sophie nodded, then jumped up. Oh crap, my $30 million. Belle giggled and squeezed through the crowd with a laptop. Say something nice, and I'll give you not just 30 million, but 300 million. Sophie blinked in confusion. So this is what it feels like to be showered with money. Wah, Master Lucy. It's really you, Master Lucy. Just then, Alex rushed over, crying, and hugged my legs, smearing my pants with snot. My mom used to watch your live streams all the time, and I told her she was crazy for believing in superstitions. I never thought I'd be the crazy one. You actually came to save me. I shoved him away in disgust. Listen to my voice. Does it sound familiar? Alex froze. A little. It sounds like the person I scammed out of $150 million a while back. Master Lucy, I'm so sorry. A pained scream echoed through the bus. Everyone else clamped their mouths shut and turned to look out the window, pretending to admire the scenery. I got my money back and even made a small fortune in the process. Jade was grinning from ear to ear. Lucy, next time something this good comes up, you have to call me. I didn't have time for her. While I was in the triangle, I'd become a trending topic online for all the wrong reasons. Everyone was calling me a fraud. My casual followers had turned into haters. After all, a so-called master of the mystic arts who gets fished just doesn't seem very credible. To make matters worse, a famous debunker on social media had called me out and announced he would be doing a live expose on me next week. Next week? Holy crap! I had announced on my live stream that I would be performing a major ritual next week. He wasn't planning on crashing it, was he? If that ritual was disrupted, the consequences would be severe. I immediately sent him a private message, trying to stop him. Not long after, I received a friend request. The debunker was young, and his voice was filled with determination. Lucy, just you wait. I'm going to expose you for the fraud you are in front of millions of my followers.